Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon what time you're watching this. My name's Steve Rafferty. I'm the town's water superintendent, and we're now just a little bit beyond 2 years since we started construction out here. Where I'm standing 2 years ago was trees and gravel. Dug a big hole. I think some of you saw that. We put the concrete in, we put the building up, we put all the equipment inside of it. And we're now at the point where we're doing the finishing touches. We're going to do final paving next week if everything goes according to schedule. You'll see shortly, I hope, a little bit of where the budding grass is coming up from where we've loamed and seeded. And we're going to go inside the building and take a walk through. It's going to be a lot quieter than any of the previous shows we've done on this. There's not many people inside because although it's a good sized plant, it's a plant designed to run automatically and be monitored remotely. It's a true state-of-the-art facility that the town, the state, and anybody that's in the profession can be proud of, and that the town will get excellent water from. Behind me you can see the building. It's done. And why don't we go wandering inside and we'll take a look at how the process actually works. We're making water today, and the water that we're making is not going yet to your house. We have a big pond out back that we're allowed to dump it into, and then it soaks back into the ground and goes through the groundwater back to the pond so we don't waste any of it. So let's go inside. So we're in the main control room of the new plant. Again, state of the art. I'm here today with Sean, one of our operators. Sean's been, over the last month, been getting ongoing training. We've been practicing running the plant. We have the overview screen for the filters on. Right now, we are running roughly 2,000 gallons a minute through the plant today. That's a little bit over 2 MGD. During the summertime, we'll push upwards of 8+ million gallons of water through this plant when it's fully online and running. Sean can monitor from his position the level of all the tanks, can measure the chemical usage, can measure the rate of flow, and he can adjust the rate of flow through a click of a button. And he gets a feedback, and we keep track of all of our information so that we can do trend analysis and report to the state. Sean, would you be able to switch over to the raw water pump station just to give an example of moving from one area of the plant to another? So what Sean's doing is going to the main control screen. He just selected the raw water pump system, and now he's able on this screen to look at it. He can see to the left-hand side, in green is intake screen number 2. That's where we're drawing the water in from. We have 2 choices. Which pumps are on right now, Sean? We've got lead pump number 1 running at 85% of its capacity. And the level in the raw water wet well is about 10.1 feet, roughly 10 feet of water in there with water coming directly from the pond. And the buttons up above allow for a wide range of choosing the order by which pumps come into service and drop out of service. The system is all configured. If a pump should have an alarm or a failure, the next pump in line scheduled to come on will come on, so there's no interruption. When we are fully operational over the next few days to week or two, the plant will be configured in such a way that Sean by himself can run the plant, or he can go home, get a good night's rest, and the plant will run itself overnight. And should there be any issues with the plant running, he would get a notice if he's the on-call operator for that day, and living within a short drive of the plant would be able to come in and address it if it shut itself down, or through a portable computer that he would carry home with him at the end of each day, be able to turn that on, and if it's a simple thing like switching a pump or modifying a set point, can do it from home, and then drive down and make sure that it's been fully implemented. Why don't we go outside and take a look at a couple of the treatment processes and see what they're actually doing and how they work. Sean, thanks for your help. Hello. So we're out here in the treatment plant portion of the facility. A little bit of background noise because we have pumps and motors running. But what I'm standing to right next to is the dissolved air flotation thickener. This is where the water first comes into the plant. We've added a coagulant, polyaluminum chloride, which helps to pull the algae in the pond together a little bit. The stainless steel pipes behind me are putting in a combination of water and air and making very, very tiny bubbles. You can't see the tiny bubbles today. They're coming in at the far end of this tank. And this nice brown carpet you're looking at down here is algae that's been in the pond that we're removing by floating little air bubbles up underneath it. The clean water is sinking down and going out pipes from the bottom of this tank and going over through the ozone contactor. The water coming out of the pond, we measure the clarity of the water by something called turbidity units. A turbidity of 1 or higher oftentimes leads to folks calling up and saying, we notice the water's tinged yellow or brown. The raw water today is around 0.5 for a turbidity, pretty normal for the pond this time of year, and that's caused by the algae in the pond. When it passes through this treatment process and leaves, the turbidity has been cut by a factor of 5, and it's down to a 0.1 or thereabouts turbidity on the other side. The way we keep track of that sometimes, both at SCADA where it's reported back, and come out in the field and check the field instrument to see what we have and look at our levels as well. So as we're continuing to drain the tank, we're getting down to the point here where the wall that separates the backwash channel that gets dual use as an influent channel, we're just about to get to it. When we build these things, we have to make everything level, and one of the ways to check how good the construction is to see whether or not the water breaks at the same time across the entire length of either the concrete or the blue backwash troughs. So we're now at the point where, as we're draining this down to get ready for the backwash, we're dropping to the level that's equal to the backwash troughs. And again, we'll look for how level they all are and if they all go dry at the same moment. So what you just heard was the air backwash blower coming on. We're now pumping air and water back up through the filter to shake loose any particulates that have accumulated on the filter. And then the water level will rise back up to the green troughs, and the dirt that we're taking out will be taken away, and then the dirt will be separated from the clean water. We'll recycle the clean water. If you look carefully, you can see the water levels rising. We're actually what's called the slow backwash step right now, where we're just shaking everything up and kind of getting it loose. Once it's all shaken up and gotten loose, then we're gonna really put a lot of water through to wash it out, and the air will shut off. So it's a combination of air scour, and backwash water right now. Okay, back right on time. You can hear the backwash pumps energizing. And now you're going to see the level in this tank rise up pretty quickly. So we're now in essence finished the process of stirring up all of the media to get the dirt loose, and we're not worried about keeping it in suspension anymore because we've pushed the dirt up into the water portion. So with the air shut off, the gravel underlayer and the carbon layer above it are all now settling back down where they belong. And we'll bring the water level up over these wash water troughs and run clean water through them. Because we want to keep all that dirt that's in suspension in the water sort of stirred up and not let it settle back out. So, so we're backwashing now, and this water is going out to the spent backwash tank. The water's a little bit dark looking, primarily because we've got such new carbon in these tanks, because they're all brand new, that as we're washing it back, they're kind of rubbing against one another and abrading a little bit. But over the course of the next month or 2 months, that'll go away, and during the normal backwash like we're doing now, that water might be slightly brown, but not this color that you're seeing right now. That's still part of what's referred to as sort of seasoning the plant a little bit. So each time we do one of these backwashes, we utilize close to 100,000 gallons of water for the backwash. Then from the spent backwash tank, we take it very slowly through what's called the plate settler. And of that 100,000 gallons of backwash water, 96 to 97,000 gallons of it will go back to the head of the plant, come back through the DAF, but it will be basically clean water when we send it back to the front of the plant. The remaining 5,000 plus or minus gallons of water that's got the carbon and dirt particles in it, we put that out with the float in the holding lagoons outside, where we allow it to decant and dry off over time. So we're in the lower portion of the treatment plant. Again, we're finished utilizing all the equipment. We're still in a test mode. We haven't got final state approval to go to distribution. But what we're looking at here is where the pumps are located, the recycled pumps or backwash pumps for cleaning the filters. Plus over my left shoulder is where the finished water pumps pump to the system. Down below me to the right is the valving involved in how the filters operate. So as we saw through the backwashing steps, there's times when water goes one direction one way and the other direction the other way. And we have a whole series of valves on the piping going in and out, air-operated valves because they give us greater precision and control. And they open and close in the proper sequence as controlled by the computer up in the control room. Regular day, somebody would walk through here twice a day just to make a visual check, make sure nothing's worn out, maybe leaking air or a little bit of water out of a sample line, but generally you wouldn't find anybody down here and the lights would be off. So we're downstairs now in the piping gallery, and this pipe here is coming from the ozone contactor. It's got the ozonated water in it. And when we were doing the backwash, this is the water that's got to get into the tank to go through the filter. Up above me, there's a 30-inch valve. That valve is operated by pneumatic air, and it opens and closes. So when we were watching the backwash before, that valve closed to stop the water coming in. And then when the backwash was all finished, that valve opened back up again to reintroduce the water back in to the filters. All right. So we're sort of wrapping up the tour of the finished facility at this point. And we're standing in the lab. And the reason we have a lab, even though it's an automated plant and we've got all sorts of measuring devices spread throughout the plant, kind of falls into the category of one of our past Republican presidents. We trust, but we like to verify. So in the lab here, we've piped the plant up from several points in the treatment process. We're able to look at the pH of the water, the turbidity of the water. We're able to collect samples from sample taps and physically measure through the laboratory chemistry or biological processes that the analyzers are giving us correct results. And so we know that when we say the water has got a turbidity of 0.1, it's really got a turbidity of 0.1. When we say the pH of the water is 7.6, we can verify that it's really 7.6. And all the way along, we can keep checking those things out. So we didn't have a lab like this before. We had a much more basic lab. This is going to make a big difference in being able to ensure the highest level of water for you, the citizens of Falmouth. We appreciate your patience while we've been getting the plant ready and bringing it online. And we hope you enjoy the water you're going to see going forward. Thank you.